On the weekend of January 16th through the 17th, players all over the world gathered to the local game store to participate in the pre-release of Magic's latest set, Oath of the Gatewatch. At Cool Stuff Games in Orlando, Florida, we interviewed several local players about their first impression on this new set.
My initial impression of Oath of the Gatewatch was that it's a lot more powerful than Battle for Zendikar. It's a lot of like just really strong, strange cards that kind of have the potential to impact constructed formats and seem like really fun for limited too. So I think it's going to be a lot more important to standard specifically, but even modern than Battle for Zendikar was.
I think it has a few cards that will impact standard. Cards like Nissa. I think it's going to be really fun to play that card that says you win the game if you have like 4 copies of it in all the 4 zones. I think that's going to be cool to see in standard.
All of the colorless cards are impressive, and I like how it changes up deck building. I'm very interested to see how it's going to affect drafting.
Battle for Zendikar is very difficult to draft, just in general, I think, for me and for other people. Like, I don't know, sometimes I had great decks and it was a hit. Other times I was like, what the heck am I supposed to be doing right now? So I think it's going to be a little more focused.
I don't know that I'd say that I like it more than Battle for Zendikar. I feel like it fills a lot of holes that Battle for Zendikar had in it. It'll certainly be interesting to see what happens once players start tinkering around with the cards and brewing decks.
One of the biggest news coming out of Oath of the Gatewatch was the introduction of a new basic land called Wastes. Not only is there a new basic land, but colorless mana gets its own mana symbol. These 2 new additions add more design space by giving the new Eldrazi cards a mana requirement that matches their colorless features.
So it's called Wastes, and it is effectively a basic land. So it's searchable by things like Pilgrim's Eye or Natural Connection. Loam Larva is a new card in the set that looks for it. It just taps for colorless mana that can be used to cast the colorless cards in the set.
What do I think of Wastes? I think Wastes are really cool. I know Commander players are really happy to have them finally for their colorless EDH decks. And the effect they have on the game is actually really interesting. It was a way to introduce almost a 6th color without introducing an actual 6th color, because it's been there all along. The colorless mana symbol is just something we've never cared about before, and now we get to care about it, which is really cool.
What I like the most is that you can actually play like different kinds of creature-based Eldrazi decks. So right now in standard, you're ramping into Ugin and ramping into Ulamog, but now you have like all these really cool creatures that need a colorless mana, you know? So you like, if you wanted to, you could play this like mono blue deck that's like 50% islands and 50% wastes. So I think it's cool that, you know, you have like this brand new strategy that you can play in standard.
We'll start to see different archetypes. We'll definitely start to see different facets of strategy that involve colorless. There's a lot of powerful interactions, I feel. So, I mean, we'll see.
There's this whole new element of colorless mana, and while I saw a lot of decks that utilize it really efficiently and really well, sometimes it just doesn't get there. For example, my pool had Reality Smasher, which is a real beater, and I didn't get a single non-basic land, so I couldn't even play it. So it's like, they say it's not a 6th color, but it fundamentally is a 6th color, and it's really hard to kind of construct your decks to keep that in mind, because you're basically splashing a 3rd color when you have colorless cards in your deck.
I think the colorless theme makes a lot more sense now than it did when Battle for Zendikar was just the only set out, and we get a lot more colorless cards. Colorless is a lot more important, and it makes a lot more sense when you have the full block in the picture than it did before.
Beyond Wastes and the new mechanics, Oath of the Gatewatch brought in a new set of 20 Expedition lands. These cards are reprints of Magic's most iconic lands, and are extremely rare. Finding one in a booster pack can be a very exciting moment, especially when most of them are valued at a high price.
The new expeditions from this set, I gotta say that I kind of like the expeditions from Battle for Zendikar a little bit more, because the fetch lands, I personally want those more than these expeditions, but I was fortunate enough to actually open a Ancient Tomb, so I'm very happy about that. I'm a little more worried in this set about their effects on Sealed and Draft. Instead of just color fixing, you have Ancient Tomb, which gets you a jump on the mana, or Strip Mine or Wasteland, which sets your opponent back pretty substantially. So I'm interested to see how that affects sealed or draft tournaments in the future.
I think it's because a lot of those cards that they printed are only legal in eternal formats like Legacy and Vintage. So it's cool if you open them because they're going to be worth a lot of money. But they don't really have too much of an impact on Standard. I do hope to open up like a Dust Bowl or like a Strip Mine because, you just like sell it and make some money.
I'm primarily an EDH player, so they get me really excited. I really want to get my hands on like a Horizon Canopy. I think it's sweet, like, that they really went all out on these kind of like random lands that are just kind of offbeat, kind of different, and kind of, give something for everyone.
It was a jam-packed weekend at Cool Stuff Games. Every event had over 80 players, and we are sure hundreds of others all over the world had even more. Let us know what you think of the pre-release and the new Oath of the Gatewatch set. Thanks for watching.